All right, it's 12:02, so we will go ahead and start. Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. We are already in 2026. Welcome to our first Coaches Launchpad session of the year. And we start with a great speaker. But before I announce our speaker, I want to invite everyone to really reflect on 2025. I certainly have looked at my last year and reflected on what went well, what didn't go so well, and adjust and really think about what is that I need to do differently? How is that I need to show up differently? Who do I need to be a better entrepreneur and coach for my clients in 2026? So I invite you to do the same so you can make a change in a way that can impact your business. Obviously, we want to help you impact the growth of your business through these sessions that we do monthly, every second Monday of the month. I'm Elena Sarango Muñiz. I'm a volunteer for ICF Houston. I started this initiative when I first started my business as an executive coach and leadership coach and a leadership consultant. The consultancy part has kind of evolved as my business has grown based on the demand. And I started the coaches Launchpad as a way for us to really have the opportunity to learn from experts, first coach experts, coaches that have gone through the path that we wanted to go through, so they could share their expertise with us. But then it's evolved. I've invited other experts on different fields where I felt I needed more expertise and learn from. And that seemed to be welcomed by other coaches. So here we are. Today, actually, we have an expert in marketing, Juliana Herman, who has gracefully accepted our invitation to be our speaker for this month. Juliana is a marketing expert. She has her own company. She's also the president of the Women's Network, and she will talk a little bit more about herself as we welcome her in. And what she's going to do is help us understand how we can build a strong brand for our business. We will have her presenting and we'll leave 15 minutes at the end to ask any questions we might have for Juliana. As you can tell, we are recording. We post this recording into our YouTube channel. If you are not a member of the YouTube channel yet, I invite you to sign up. I will put the link in the comments as we go. And feel free to put your questions in the chat and so we can answer those questions. And at the end, I will be monitoring that chat as we go. So without further ado, Juliana, welcome. Thank you for being here, and the Zoom is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Um, so I was asked to talk kind of about branding, right? How to build and maintain your brand. So I know that you might all be in different places with your branding. One thing is, especially in your roles, I see your brand may kind of evolve as you continue to grow in your coaching. So I tried to kind of pull out some easy tips and things like that. I do have my own marketing company, and I also, as Elena was saying, I volunteer with Women's Masters Network Houston. Look it up. We have all sorts of people from different roles, different industries, and we try and do networking and educational events. And then I'm also on the board of American Marketing Association Houston, with the job programs to help marketers in transition, and also run that job board. So I think part of my brand is also volunteering and giving back to the community. Um, So, I mean, please, if you have certain questions during it, I'm pretty open to discussing them. And then, as Elena said, we'll have some time at the end. So, one of my goals with this is to really give you something that you can use. And one reason you'll see me talking about Canva a lot is because Canva is a really good resource for finding templates, building your brand kit, kind of starting yourself for a very reasonable price. And once you start there, then you can find other people to kind of scale what you need. So this is what we'll be talking about. So establishing your brand identity, brand foundations, defining your position, crafting your brand message, designing your visual identity. And that's a lot of what you think about when you think about brand, but there's so much involved with it. I have a slide that says if you already have brand materials, because some of you may have already built this out. And then really maintaining that brand. So establishing your identity. So this is kind of what sets you apart. This will lead to all of the different elements as part of your brand. So you want to think about this as you approach it. And this is something, if you work with someone who says, I'm going to build your brand, say no more, I'm just going to do it for you, you need to be involved in that process. Like your brand, especially as a coach, like where y'all are and what you do, your brand is very tied to you. So you need to think of, how do people recognize you? How does this message feel? How do you want people to feel when they think about you and your brand? And then consistency, that's like the biggest part. You can make adjustments to your brand, but you don't want to kind of do a 180 all the time. Like branding is really about consistency. Otherwise, there really isn't a brand. It's not just about colors and a logo, not just about just social media. It's kind of everything together. So some of the brand foundations, right? You do want to go through and understand your audience. This is really what's going to drive a lot of those materials that you build to show people what your brand is. So you want to know who your target demographic is. You want to know why they're talking to you, because a lot of this is what's going to resonate with them. You want to analyze kind of what preferences are. How does that work with your core? Because part of, especially when you're looking for business, or you're looking for people to work with, you also want to make sure that those people align with what your core values are. And that is part of your brand. And then always listen, try and get feedback, hear kind of what people are saying about you. Is your target demographic, they're not finding you? Like, take that as part of the feedback as well. So really, before you get into kind of picking out colors and saying what your logo is going to look like, really be clear on who you help, what problem you solve, how you want to be perceived. And then there's some of these examples will go into kind of like that brand voice or brand message, right? Like, am I calm, or am I bold? Am I authoritative, or am I friendly? So a lot of this feeds in as part of that overall brand message. So as part of defining your positioning, this is really going to build into, as we said on the prior slide, kind of that perception people have of you. So here I have something about competition. I mean, I was thinking about that. Do I say competition? I don't, but it is, right? There are other people out there that have other skills, other coaching. I think you can find people too that you can look at and you like what they do, or you see how you're different. A lot of this is understanding what the landscape is, as far as people that might be in that same, looking for that same target demographic. So with this brand basics, you want to fill this out, right? You want to kind of have a couple sentences that say, who do I help? What problem do I solve? Um, this can be a little more general and it can get tighter, or it could get, you could have it really tight right now and then you decide, oh, I'm going to make it a little more general. um, this kind of comes down to, there might even be a couple different ways that you want to approach it. I have a friend that I was talking to. They do one-on-one coaching, but then they also want to do speaking, and so you might want to address those sections just slightly differently. um, and then it's start with 3 words that you really want your brand to feel like. You can have a couple more, but if you can get like 3, actually there's something magic about threes, isn't there? Like it's always something like there's 3 words, there's 3 of this. Find those. And I mean, this goes along with your values too. Like, um, it could be being authentic, or it could be being very polished. Figure out kind of how you want it to feel, um, and that's going to align with your your brand. So you want to, again, I mean, I'm going through this, some of it is very similar, right? Your unique selling proposition, that is going to be part of the foundation. Understanding your competition and aligning with your values. It is a big thing, especially where you are mostly selling yourself. um, and you're selling your expertise and yourself. You do want to make sure that there is this level of on authenticity, like where you're not positioning your branding in a certain way as when you show up, it's not reflected. And this can come down to lots of details even. Um, this can carry forward even to, I wear this for this event. I wear this color, or I don't know. I'm always deciding if I'm going to wear my glasses or not. I don't know. Like today I did it because I need to get something on my my temple fixed. But it is like some of this can also carry through as well. So crafting your brand message. So there is a brand message or brand voice. And that's where you take a lot of the research on yourself, your business, your competition that you're going to start pulling together, right? Defining your personality. That goes back to kind of those 3 words, how you want to communicate with your audience, how you want to be perceived, your specific value proposition. So this is really where you look, where do I add value to people I want to work with? And then go shift through it. You can't be everything to everyone. You can't take all your ideas and use all your ideas at the same time. Try and go and kind of filter and shift through and pick those ones that are strong to you. Like this can take a little bit of time. This can take a little bit of going back and forth and editing. Um, I really want to emphasize too, this is the great part about where we are in AI right now. You can use AI to bounce your ideas off of. You can use AI as a idea creator. You give them those 3 words, you give them who your target is, you give them AI, because any AI, whatever you prefer. For example, I kind of lean to ChatGPT for a lot. If we're talking about Canva, Canva has AI tools in it. Um, one of the things that I love is the brand kit. This is a big part of what I'm encouraging you guys to do as you set this up is the brand kit. You don't have to use Canva, but it's easy. I will use ChatGPT to help flesh out and refine a brand voice. And that's about, I think it has to be 500 words or something like that for Canva. And you can put it in Canva. And when you have your brand voice saved in Canva, you can take kind of a start of your idea and actually have it match to your brand voice. You click on it and you say, adjust to my voice, change to my brand voice. And that helps you remain consistent as you go through and try different things out. Lots of templates, things like that. You can go on and actually use some of those AI tools within Canva to kind of quickly build certain things out and make sure that they're aligned. So I think this is my heavy slide with a lot of different pieces to it. So this one you might want to take a look at. So now this is your visual identity, because you've already gone through, you've already kind of assessed who you want to be, who you want to sell through to, how you can help them, how they add value. And now you're pulling it into visual items that you will use consistently across your website, socials, etc. One thing I want to say, like, I have an easy tip here. If you're playing with colors, this coolers.co, it's a really great website to go on. And sometimes it's something like there's color theory, right? Where you could look at different colors and say, what do I want people to feel when they see me, right? Like, so blue would be calm. It could be you just pick your favorite color because it so resonates with you. You will have one primary color, and then coolers.co actually helps you find colors that match, right? That are complementary. So it's a really great tool because you pick one or two colors you like, you can lock them in, and then you keep hitting the space bar until you see colors that also look good. There's going to be times where you'll definitely want to have a couple supporting colors. This is like a minimum here: one primary color, 1 to 2 supporting colors, 1 neutral. There could be some brighter colors you want to add. All of these, once you find them, you can copy and paste, which is called like a hex code, from Coolers into Canva so that you can maintain that consistency. And you can also shuffle through those colors if you find a template. So it's pretty easy way. You can have as many as you want, really. Like, I don't know if it maxes out. I'm sure at some point it does. But you also don't want to have every color in the world. I've seen some people have like 10, 20 colors. No, that is losing consistency. So try and keep with your core colors. Try and have like a pop out color that is like, that can you can use for buttons and things that people can see. But coolers.co really helps with that to make sure that nothing is clashing or not really working. It's a great idea generator. So font and visual style, you will want to make sure it kind of identifies with your brand in certain ways, but you do want to make sure that you don't go, for example, if you're working with a younger generation and they cannot read cursive, you probably don't want to have cursive as your, headliner font. So you want to think about readability and your audience. So you could have, I want to have a warmer feel. Look through your list of fonts, and with the Canva Pro, you can see them all, try them out, but you're going to pick a headliner font and a body font. Depending on how basic you go with your font, it could be the same. Montserrat, a lot of people use. It's very easy. It's clean. But you might want to have a headliner font that you can use certain places that's different from your body font. Now, depending on where you're designing your materials, I'll just make a caveat on fonts. There are fonts available to you in Canva or other tools that may not be downloaded to certain computers. So if you're approaching that one, you're going to have to think about, do I have a backup font? So from a corporate standpoint, I've worked in a lot of big companies. You go, Arial is my font that I use. If my other fonts aren't available, that is fine. Or you're going to have to start using PDF or something like that instead of a PowerPoint potentially. So you need to think about that, because some of your experience, some of that experience for your audience may change based on what fonts you pick. I know that's a little detailed, but It is something that you might come across, and some of you may already have. So um, use the same fonts everywhere, of course. You want your visuals to be consistent. Canva website. Okay, there are people, a lot of people in marketing that don't even know this. Canva, you can build a multi-page website in. They have templates. You can pull in all your brand elements and build your website. It is, you can have 5 different domains in there as part of a pro account. Um, and it's very easy to update. I would suggest, if you haven't, most of you probably have already bought your domain, buy your domain on GoDaddy, connect Canva to your GoDaddy, host, if you want to do website, host it on Canva. One, it's fairly simple to set up using Canva. It is part of your, I think it's like $200 for a pro account. So it's, the cost is, I mean, the cost is very minimal. And if you're ready to scale up and do fancier things on your website, like you want to start having like calculators and tools, um, you would then work with a company to build that. And they already have an idea of what you want, what you don't want, if you've already built your website on Canva. And Canva is good enough for people to go see your domain's real, see a little bit about you, how you decide to build it. There's also forms available for Canva. So you can actually have people, if they want to talk to you, they can input their information on your website and you can see that and download it through Canva. So it's actually fairly robust for what it is and what it costs. So you have all these different elements. You're going to want to put them in a brand kit. So Canva has a really easy to use brand kit, but you could also have a brand document. You can build out your brand guidelines in PowerPoint. There's multiple ways to do it. So colors, fonts, logos, different visual elements. What are pictures that I like? Brand voice. I mean, people forget about that a lot, but it is very helpful because it helps remind you too of how you like to approach your customers. And it really does keep that core. Also, when you do, if you do want to move to getting a professional graphic designer or anything like that, the brand kit and your brand guideline helps them work with you and understand you. So it helps maintain that consistency even when you want to scale up and get additional help from someone who may be an expert in building out graphics or something like that. You can get started for free if you want to build your website. That is on the paid version, but also you get a lot of stock images through it. So I think it's very valuable. So I'm going kind of fast through this. So if anyone had any questions, I mean, I guess I hope I'm not going too quickly for you. Okay, great. If you already have brand materials, which you all might have some level already or some idea. If you already have your website or you already have your logo, actually, I know someone who already had their website, but they didn't really define their colors yet, which is kind of interesting. But really, you want to look at what you have now and make sure that you're focusing on consistency. You're kind of simplifying your choices because you could have built it with a couple different ideas in mind. You might want to just take a look because it's very valuable to kind of go back and take a look. I honestly have in drafts in my Canva a whole new website for my company. And I'm like, it's on my list of things to do. And it can get challenging at times to find that time, but go back and if that's, it's very good to take a look and refresh. And especially if it happens, things change. You find out which clients or companies that you like to work with and those that you don't. And that actually helps you take your brand, figure out what those are, and make sure that that is attracting a target that you like. So just, you don't need to start over, just refine. Though I do want to start over with my website. Canva has added a lot of cool options. And so I need to go back, and instead of building someone else's website, I need to build mine back. Um, and then I cannot emphasize enough, brand kit, guidelines, document, whatever that is. You might already have these materials, but they're not documented. Okay, so this is a big part too, maintaining your brand. You've already built it. You have the pieces. So again, consistency is key. Write it down. Colors, fonts, tone, just anything basic guidelines that you know, like this could be as detailed or as high level as you wish. I think that there should be like a medium amount of detail, right? Because you do want to make sure that you're not second guessing yourself as you're building things. I mean, that's going to be huge, right? You go and you're like, wait, I kind of like this color, but it doesn't go with that color. And then the more that you build it out, the more that you document, the more that you think it through, you can adjust certain things, but you really want to build this out so it goes as quickly as possible. You shouldn't every time say, which font do I want to use? And this writing it down will help you as you build out all of your materials. Save templates. So you can go in, you create templates, you create items that you like, you have a tip of the week or something like that. Once you create that, if you're able to be consistent in when you're posting, for example, on social media, the things that you're posting, people will recognize it, see it, and look for it. So very helpful if you carry that, and you want to carry that through that visual feel through a lot of your materials. And so the more templates you go build up as you go, you don't have to go right now. That's a big thing. You don't have to go right now and say, okay, what will I want to do for the next 10 years? Let me build out all the templates. You can start with what you're building now. And then once you have that base, you can build out different ones. I'll go back to Canva again because it is so easy. You can go resize. You find something you like, you can go resize it, copy it over, change that up. Spend a little bit of time building a template. And then when you have to do a new, I don't know, a new quote or a new whatever, it will go much faster. Reuse your layout. So that's going to be taking certain layouts, putting in new content. But it's also, I think there's opportunity to look at what content, what layouts, whatever works, and making small adjustments. So a lot of times you're thinking, oh, everyone's already seen that. Well, they might have seen it in a different way. So let's say you had something that performed really well. You saw a lot of people had engaged with it. You had questions about it. So take a look and see if there's another angle that you can put on it. See if there's another way you could approach that same subject. And see, maybe you change a couple elements or things like that. You want to be consistent in your brand, but you can play around a little bit with like content and how it's kind of laid out, which color you're using here or there. And look, that's where you're listening and getting the feedback from people to see really what does well. One of my clients, I would love to have new content from them all the time, but you can't always have that. So what you go do is say, oh, what was a well-performing case study or something like that? How can I mix that up to refresh it and have it ready for a potentially new audience that might be interested? And then review quarterly. Okay, so I was like, review quarterly, you don't want to review too much because then it's like you're constantly reinventing. But you do want to take whatever cadence you have, and that could be, I mean, every 3 months is something that when you're smaller, like it is good to kind of look every 3 months at what you're working on, what you're doing. If it's annually, just try and keep in mind that this is something that will change. There will be small adjustments. Now, I've done a couple like huge like brand refreshes with a new logo. Um, you don't want to do that a lot. So you're even though you're selling yourself, you have a lot of flexibility. You want to make sure that you're giving the time to have your brand build, right? So you want to make sure that you're consistent enough so that brand can build and start being recognized. But if you see that there's a problem, or you see that there's been a huge fundamental shift in what you do, then try and approach it to make sure that you're building something for a longer term, and you're not having to switch every year or anything like that. You do want to make sure that you're addressing something that's like a little long term. Um, and it could be like one startup that I work with. Um, it still annoys me. Some of the materials, like I'm trying to tell them to change that logo. Like that's your old logo. Change it. It gets hard to control too, because there's Google crawls your site, and they actually several clients of mine, they Google made an update and it was pulling old logos or bad logos that were showing up in the Google searches. So um, review, assess. You can make small adjustments, but also think about kind of the longer term. And then I mean, next, I this is what I had to cover. I hope I didn't go too quickly. I wanted to actually have a lot of time to be able to chat with you. Um, Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat, answer any questions. Also, this is funny. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there at there's an American Marketing Association Houston branding workshop on the 28th at Sesh Co-working. That's like next to Weights and Measures. Um, you can go to the event page here and register. I think it's like $20 or something like that. They're going to be doing workshops. I'll be there. I think it'll be fun. If it's not, I mean, at least you'll kind of be able to network, network with some other people, um, pick other marketing people's brains. Because a lot of what you do is marketing. It's just it's a little different, right? But it is, you guys are out there kind of creating your own brands and really selling your businesses and yourself. So I encourage you to look at American Marketing Association and see what kinds of events might work for you. There's also lunches and things like that. It could be very valuable for you to learn. Okay. Should I stop sharing now? Did everyone get?
Sure. Thank you, Juliana. That was great. No, and I'm glad there's time to ask you questions because I have a lot of questions, but we also have questions in the chat. So let's start with Andrea asked if you could please share the links to both the Women Masters group and the other one you serve on the board.
Yeah.
So if you could do that. Sherry, thank you for putting the links to what Juliana was referring to. Leslie asked a question, Juliana. I have a logo and brand colors, but the graphic artist did not give me the color RGB, etc. Is there a tool that can tell me the colors?
Yes. So what you might want to do, and you can have you seen, and you can do this in a bunch of different tools, but there's a little eyedropper kind of thing, right? Canva will do this. If you're in Canva and you upload any type of image into Canva, it'll show you what colors are in it, what they match closest to. You could also do this though in PowerPoint. You can put, your image in PowerPoint, and then when you're looking at colors, do more colors. And then I think it looks like, a little circle with all these colors in it. It's more colors. You can click on that, and it'll allow you to have the little dropper where, and I'm a PC person. I think there's different ways to do this in Mac. But you can use a little dropper. You click on it, it'll show you what that color is. So then just take note of what that hex is, put that in your document that you're building. And then you can go back to it. If you use it in different places and it looks off, try to go back to coolers.co and see if there's a color that resonates better. You'll also see, depending on how you're using your logo, most of our logos and materials, most of them are digital now, right? But some of them, if you wind up looking at them on a different type of monitor, or if you print them out, they might not be exactly what you want. So think about how you would like to use your colors too, because you might want to make some suggestions. I worked with one company and it was the prettiest green on one screen and it looked like puke on another. And then we were like, okay, well, where is this going? Who's going to see it? Well, we can't control what resolution the monitor is. So we decided to make an adjustment to the green to make it a little deeper, richer, instead of like the brighter. So we kind of toned it down a little bit. And then that green looked really good. And we could use that bright one when we knew where we were using it, right? Like where we knew that we can control what that color is.
Great. Thank you, Juliana. Lots of thank yous, Juliana's very concise
Yeah.
yet powerful session. Um, while others, if you guys have questions, and just raise your hand or come out of mute and you can ask your question. Juliana, while the group is asking their questions or thinking about their questions, I do have a question. I've had my business for 2.5 years and I'm still using the original logo and colors that an intern came up with that I said, yeah, sure, they look good, but and I use that for my newsletter, for my website, and for my material, collateral material. Do you recommend I go to this color link you gave, or do you recommend I hire a professional to look into my branding if I want to continue growing my organization?
So I suggest you do both, right? I think the more you're informed about what you like, and are able to tell whoever you decide to work with kind of what you're thinking, that's going to be helpful for both of you. Because someone else can just apply. I looked at this. I saw a lot of times that's looking at competition. They look at who else is in your similar industry, and then they just apply it to you. But then that can wind up a little too, that loses you from it, right? So I would suggest doing a little bit of work on your own to think about it. But then, yes, of course, I created a logo with a friend of mine who's starting his company. I did it in Canva with him. We played around with it. Um, I actually, one of the things I like doing with small business owners is, it's not my main, bread and butter for my business, but it's kind of fun, right? To sit down and take an hour or two and kind of go through ideas together and play with stuff. With him, we found something that he could use in Canva. He had an immediate need to do an advertisement and find a logo for his website. And so he was showing me what he did, and I was like, "Where'd you get that logo?" He was like, "It was in a template in Canva." And I was like, "Oh, this says nothing about your business. So let's spend a little time to kind of see what might fit." And so we spent a little time doing it. We found something that looked really good. We could go to it's on his website now. He went to print with the advertisement. But I also suggested I have a contact from Upwork, that I think builds really good logos that you can use digitally. So you might not want to go, you might want to, I like to play around with what I want. And then you can work with an expert because there are certain things that you might want to do with your logo that you can't do just from doing yourself. Um, there's another company that I have that it's a startup, that I'm going to be working on a little more this year. I used that contact in Upwork to get ideas for logos. Then I went and put them in Canva and played around with them until I got the feeling that I wanted. And then I got him to kind of refine them and clean them up. So that's where there's certain things that you can look at how you want to handle them on your own. But then there are certain things that you're going to want to say, okay, I'm scaling up now. I've tried this. I found I like this. I don't like this. Now I want to work with someone who can actually build out these assets more.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie.
My first approach, I'm like, here's how you do it free yourself or very close to free yourself. Test it out and then go and see if you can find that expert to kind of elevate it.
Thank you. And thank you for mentioning Upwork because I think Upwork has great professionals for affordable fees. So thank you.
And I'm
Andrea,
happy to share my contact with anyone. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, just let me know.
I will. Thank you. Andrea, you have a question for Juliana.
Yes, thanks, Alana, and Elena, and also thanks, Juliana. This was such a great presentation, so much information in such a short amount of time, and it lands perfectly for me because I am launching my business and I am sketching. I have all different sketches of logos. So maybe building on what you were just sharing, and maybe you answered my question inadvertently, how do we find somebody who can take the sketches and turn them into something digital? Because I like the sketching. I like to do that myself. But as far as something that I can then utilize on a business card or letterhead or a website or a blog or, a billboard someday, who knows? Think big. How do we find somebody? And, if you do have that content that you're willing to share, that would be fantastic.
Yes. Ask me on LinkedIn. I'll find his link and send it to you for Upwork. And I'll even tell you a little about like what you might want to say with him. So, for example, this contact, he does a lot of website design. So some of the logos he might build are very like digital focused. They're smaller resolution. So you'd probably want to ask him for a certain resolution. So I'll put something a little blurb together too. That's actually a great point to kind of pull up on a slide or something like that in the future. Is when you're out looking for someone, one, word of mouth is going to be best. Well, Upwork can be hard because there are, with AI now too, there are some people that are building stuff purely with AI. They might not actually be building the file that can be used in certain ways. So try and find people that have worked with other people before. And then also what's great with Upwork is you can start out like, so one of my projects, it wound up, we had so many back and forth on this brand and this logo. I started out, I was like, here's $100 to do this, this, and this. And then by the end of it, he's like, okay, I really am going to need you to send me more money to get this done. And I was like, yes, that is a valid point. And so I did, right? Because we had gone back and forth. But do partial projects if you can too, like so that you know what that person is doing or how they're going to work, or make sure that like, just don't say, I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you $1,000, and try and do little pieces to make sure that that person is thinking about your logo the way that you're thinking about it, and also that they have the skills to build with what you requested.
Yeah, that's really helpful because one of my friends had said that she got her website done. She bartered coaching for a website, which I thought was genius. And then she referred them to me and I talked to them, and the price that they gave me was ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. I don't have any, I don't have a lot of money coming in to cover that right now.
Yeah.
But certainly, finding somebody that, maybe that's not an option too. Someone who's in a startup position would want to barter services, or certainly has the understanding that this might be, a new thing. And I don't need the most complex logo. I just need something simple so I can launch my business and feel confident that I have a brand.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to chat with you as well later because like with my friend, I was able to get him we were able to work on a logo, and you've already done the sketching. There's ways to build it in Canva that it's usable for a lot of easy things right now. And that is all just, and then if you build your website in Canva too, like it's all there. And I know, I mean, sometimes I'm like, I say Canva so much, I'm like, am I annoying? But I'm like, the value that you get out of spending like that $200 for the year and being able to host like your website and then also build like those materials out, it adds it's I wasn't able to find anything else out there right now. I know Netlify, you can do free hosting with a website. Um, it is just really it is easy. It's pretty easy to use. You look for templates and build from there.
Thanks so much. I'll definitely reach out to you.
Yeah.
Juliana, speaking of websites, you're saying I didn't know that it's amazing to build a website through Canva. Mine is through do you say WordPress, right?
Yes.
Did you say that if you have already a WordPress website, you can integrate it or transfer it to
So
Canva?
Canva, you would have to rebuild your site. So
Okay.
I'll be very open. There's a company that I'm working on with a friend of mine, and we built a Shopify site. Well, Shopify is fairly expensive if you're not doing a lot with it from a month to month standpoint. So with that website, I took everything we took in Shopify, which most websites now, like I have one that's Wix, I have one that was Shopify. Um, I work in WordPress a lot, but basically with our Shopify one, I went and just recreated it in Canva because I knew right now we're going to take a beat, we're going to plan more. I don't need to have a shop on there. So I just rebuilt the whole site on Canva because I know I can put it there and it's not costing us more money per month. Instead, it's there under my account. Um, People can still go to it. It's still there. It still tells our story. You can still see it, but it's not. And so you really have to look at the function you're getting. So Canva does do some SEO, but for example, WordPress, if you're doing a blog, a regular blog, WordPress is very good for that, and a lot of the other websites. Canva, they don't really have a blog tool yet. So it's really like how you want to build out your site. If you don't have a site right now and you're not sure how much money you want to spend on your site, I 100% encourage you to go to Canva and start building it out because then it's also you getting started before someone else helps you. Because then you can go, I already have my website built out and they can look at it and they go, oh, we don't have to do wireframes. If this is what you want, I can go and create that, right? I can use a different tool to do that. And you just say, hey, I have my Canva. I want my WordPress to look like this, and I want it to have a blog component. But also, when you're doing WordPress versus when you're doing a website, there's a certain way of whoever you work with there's a way that they need to build themes so that hopefully you can get in and make changes on your own. Otherwise, you all are always asking them to do things for you. So there is a huge maintenance piece where if you work with someone and they say, oh, it's going to cost, a couple $1,000s to build out the site, you need to also ask them, well, what is the maintenance on the site and how many hours do I get for you to update it? Unless you're able to update it on your own. I'm pretty tech savvy, I guess. So I always figure it out and update it. But not everyone is like that. So you may need someone, you may say, oh, I need to do this. So you need to know if you're paying for hours that they're going to charge you monthly, that they can make those updates for you.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Thank you, Juliana. We still have 10 minutes, but if everybody's okay, before some of you need to go, I would like to take a screenshot so we can post it in LinkedIn and, promote our coach Launchpad. So I'm going to put gallery here and let me do this. Oh boy, I do not look good on this screen, but that's okay. I'm gonna be brave and take a new screenshot. And all right, everybody's smiling, beautiful. Thank you. And I am going to copy. Okay. Thank you. So any other questions from anyone? By the way, I saw a comment in the chat. So That's what this community is for. It's not just to have speakers every month, it's for also share best practices, including resources that we have used that we trust and that we want to recommend to others. So feel free to recommend your sources to other members. If you're new to the Coaches Launchpad, we have a WhatsApp group that we've created where we communicate a lot of the things that we want to announce or share with others. So if you are not part of that WhatsApp group yet, feel free to send me a WhatsApp and I'm the admin and I will add you to the group. So I'm going to add my cell phone number here in case you don't have it. And that's my what it says ICF, but I'm Elena because I'm using the ICF Zoom link. Um, any other questions? Maybe last minute questions?
Elena, I was looking on the ICF website. Do they still have the free websites for members?
Yes, Sherry. It's not the ICF Houston, but the global ICF. They do have that. As far as I know, they still have that tool for free. Yes. So you can actually build your own website using, I've never tried it. I've heard it's not that easy. So I just decided to have somebody help me with that. Thank you, Juliana, for adding your LinkedIn. And I thought I had another question. Besides Upwork, there is this other website where you can find freelancers. What's the name of that? I can't think of the name.
There's also Fiverr.
Fiverr. Thank you. Fiverr. So Fiverr is also a good resource to use. Great. I think,
Just look through what they've done before and have a chat with them just to make sure. It's best to work with people you like working with, even if they're anywhere in the world. So try and have a little chat with them too to understand how they do things and how they design things.
yes, yes. Thank you, Juliana. I will be definitely contacting you. So, okay. So if there are no further questions, I'm gonna go ahead and um, give a big thank you to Juliana. Thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us. I'll definitely connect with you. This recording will be uploaded by ICFHouston.org in our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel in case you didn't know, so you can see the recordings from previous sessions. And anyway, I hope to see you next month, second Monday of the month, 12 noon CST. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll go ahead and stop the recording. And thank you everyone. Have a good month. See you next time. Thank you.